In the last episode of our spring trip to Florida, we were exploring Highland Hammock State Park and the giant live oak trees that they have there. We checked out some of the trails and then we got to see this awesome sunset from our campsite. We were staying in the wilderness loop of the campground, which is a little bit quieter than the other side. But then we got up the next day and decided that we were going to try out the bike rentals so that we could explore the rest of the trails and hopefully today get to see an alligator.
So don't let the weight of the world slow you down. And if you're searching for the meaning of life, it won't be found. So take your insecurities and leave them all behind. Let's learn to make the most of our time.
We rode our bikes over to the Cypress swamp trailhead and parked them so that we could walk on the boardwalk. It starts out as a pretty wide boardwalk with rails on both sides, but then it switches over to this very narrow boardwalk as it goes over the water, and you really have to be careful of your footing because as we came around the side, we got to see our first alligator at this park. As we came around the corner, we could see some people standing on the boardwalk taking pictures of the water, and we knew what that meant. We looked over and we could see just a little bit of the scaly back of the alligator sticking out of the water, completely motionless. This is one of the most popular trails in the park because it's just a neat experience walking on the boardwalk and you get this close to the alligators and they seem to just not mind people at all. As everyone was walking by on the boardwalk, the alligator did not move the entire time, which is maybe a little bit concerning that it is that used to people being around. We were even more mindful of our footing as we were leaving this area of the boardwalk. Cemeteries, like all the people who have been here but died.
Yeah.
You know? People who walked through here and enjoyed this.
I always think of that, yeah.
All along the sides of the boardwalk railing are memorial plaques for different people, some of which were volunteers in the park. Some of them were just people who visited and loved the park with quotes about how much the park meant to them. It's just a neat thing to think about how many people have walked through these trails and gotten so much enjoyment from this little piece of Florida that's been preserved. One of the great things about spending time in nature is it reminds us of our place in the web of life, this endless cycle of life and death and how one feeds the other. This is so clearly demonstrated in the swamp where you can see one plant growing out of the dead stump of another plant.
Our bike's still there?
I really like how this park is set up.
Yeah.
Like the loop, and then you can just ride your bike and stop and then walk the trail.
Yeah.
It's a good break.
Not long at all for, again, if you have an injury or whatever, it's easy to navigate and go around. It's short, flat.
We continued on to another trail and got to see another example of a giant live oak. The live oak is a very slow-growing hardwood tree, but it's more hurricane resistant and fire and drought resistant than other types of hardwoods. but because the wood is such high quality, it was highly sought after for shipbuilders because it made such a sturdy building material and it was able to withstand the forces that a ship would have to go through during storms. We really enjoyed exploring the short but interesting trails of Highland Hammock State Park with its varied terrain of dirt and boardwalks and bridges. They're always something interesting to see. We went back to the trailhead and got our bikes because it was time to head back to the camp store and return the bikes, and we figured since we were going back to the camp store, maybe we should get ourselves a treat after making it through this bike ride in one piece. While Patrick returned the bikes, I went into the camp store to get our tickets for the tram the next day. This park is really well known for the Tram Tour. It's been going for a very long time, and it was started by a naturalist in the park that wanted to help the visitors to see more of the wildlife and the interesting plants and birds that live in the park. So the tram tour, it sounds like something kind of touristy, maybe not the usual thing that we would do, but it's definitely worth it. And you want to make sure that you get your tickets early because they do sell out. There's a few every day, but make sure you get your tickets at least the day before. Then we headed over to the picnic area for peanut butter jelly time, and then Patrick decided that he wanted to go back into the camp store and try a couple more of the interesting treats that they have. This is what happens when you let Patrick go in the gift shop by himself. Ice cream and pie. The bike rentals went pretty well today. We both stayed on the bike the entire time. No injuries, despite the fact that the bikes were really rickety. They were really hard to steer, and they had like the old-fashioned brakes where you have to pedal backwards. But it was really nice just going around the loop in the park, and then you stop and there's a bike rack right at the trailhead, and you park the bike for a little while, you do the loop, you come back. We get to see an alligator on the old Cypress trail, so yeah, I'm glad we did that. It was really fun. And then we got more ice cream as a reward for our hard work. We got more of the orange ice cream and key lime pie, so that was great. All right, now we're going to, where are we going?
I don't know. I saw a body of water and a lake.
There's a lake.
So we're going down the road.
So, and probably going to get dinner in town tonight because we're getting a little low on our food. So Patrick decided he wants barbecue. We came in through the back entrance of the park when we arrived, so we decided to go out the front entrance and see what was on that side. As we were driving, we saw signs for historic Sebring, so we went in that direction to check it out. It's a cute downtown.
There's a bike shop.
Downtown Sebring is a very cute, quiet town with a circular park in the center. And as you walk around, there are a lot of little shops and restaurants, and there's even quite a bit of murals and artwork. Yeah, it's like super quiet here.
It's a Sunday too.
Nice little
Or Saturday.
park right in the center with all these stores. A lot of the stores are closed though. We got some ice cream at the shop on the corner. It was a fun little ice cream and soda shop, very vintage feel. We drove around the lake, and then as we headed back toward the park, we stopped at Sonny's Barbecue. And this was recommended to us by one of the park rangers, and it was quite good. If you're in the area, check out Sonny's Barbecue. So I guess we kind of ate in reverse. ice cream before dinner, but that's okay. We were on vacation. We headed back into the park, and we were getting ready for our last night of regular camping on this trip. So we really wanted to soak everything in and enjoy being outside when it was relatively warm before heading back to New Jersey, where things were still pretty chilly in the beginning of March. Well, such as it is, we are soaking in our last night of camping in the sort of warmness. Probably doesn't look like Florida camping because it's like windy tonight and a little chilly. It's going to like the high 50s, so a little chilly, but that's all right.
About you and me, the injustice, the next president to be, the news and what you hear, your career. It's time for you to face those fears, and it's all fair to be aware, and I'll be there, so don't be scared. Just take a deep breath of air, and 1, 2, 3 to 10, you begin to focus again, and though